What is the value of giving kids free time and play?
So most of us of a certain age grew up with a lot of free time. And now it seems like free time is downtime or wasted time. But free time is when you figure out what you like to do and you start noodling around, and whether you're riding your bike or collecting something or drawing or writing, you're finding your way. And the idea that, everybody wants their kids to have a passion. There was actually a study done of parents across the board, and what's the number one thing they wanted for their kids? It wasn't even success. It was to have a passion. Well, I don't understand how you're supposed to find a passion when you're sitting in the back of the seat, the back of the car, and then you're driven to an activity and somebody tells you you're playing third base, or don't forget today's the time we're working with, we're working on chess, or you're at Kumon, or you're at ballet class. I mean, those things are fun and they're activities, but the chances that it's igniting this thing in you, you find a passion by something thrilling you. I mean, whether it's a person or an activity, and to always just be doing something because an adult is telling you to do it, even if it's something you enjoy, like ballet, that's not figuring out who you are. A lot of times people think it's play when their kid is in soccer 4 times a week. And I think it's fine to be in soccer, and I think that the kids are learning something about teamwork, and they're certainly learning soccer moves. But what they're not learning, that they would be learning if they went to the park and there was another kid there and they said, hey, do you want to play basketball, or you want to kick around a soccer ball, and then some other kids come. In that case, they're learning, first of all, they have to communicate with another kid. They have to decide the teams. There's compromise. Was the ball in or out? Is this boring? Should we change the rules? Let's vote. That's democracy. Let's come up with a new way of doing it. That's innovation. And none of that is allowed if you're in a soccer league. If you're in a soccer league, all you can do is practice the drills and have a game, and somebody else is keeping score and blowing the whistle and watching you. So once you're watched, everything changes, right? You're doing it for somebody else. You're self-conscious. If you're just playing, you can really figure out what you love to do, and you can make a real friendship, and you can do something new. You're not stuck doing exactly what the adult wants you to do. And so there's just this giant difference between free time and adult supervised, adult organized time. And as parents, we've almost forgotten that, like, soccer and Little League and chess and Kumon are all adult. They're school. They're school for lacrosse. They're school for homework, but they're not school. They're school. There's an adult still running the show. And one of the theories about why kids are depressed these days is because, say you hate school. I mean, there's like almost no escape from somebody watching you, judging you, assisting you, teaching you, and grading you, whether it's with a trophy or an actual grade, and there's no downtime. Imagine if you were micromanaged like that at work, and then someone came home and said, okay, you're going to put your fork here. Let's see how you put the fork. Okay, now we're going to put down the plate. I mean, you'd just be going crazy. Like, stop telling me everything I have to do. And it's not this adolescent, quit telling me what to do. You're not the boss of me. It's like, let me have a little breathing room and figure out what I like to do, what I'm good at, what I enjoy. And for me, an analogy is that if you looked down at the earth, 40 years ago, you'd see all this rainforest, right? And then if you look down at it now, you'd see that it had very much constricted. And similarly, if you looked down on childhood, 20, 40 years ago, you'd see kids on their scooters and making model airplanes and going to the park and trying to find somebody to do, knocking on a door saying, can Betsy come out to play? You'd see all this free time. And then if you look down now, you'd see play dates and kids being driven to something, and there's a soccer tournament, and then there's the banquet. So the free time disappeared, just like the rainforest, just as steadily. And it's this natural resource. Free time is a natural resource when kids figure out how to make something happen, discovering things. Can I climb that high? No, it's too high. Yes, I can. Or, oh, I wonder if this ice is solid. No, it's not. I mean, they're out there interacting with the world, interacting with their fears, interacting with their friends, getting something, maybe getting a job, making a little money, doing things, being part of the world. And now it's all in the backseat of the minivan. So So free time is this natural resource that disappeared, and people get that the rainforest is really what I mean. The rainforest is small, and we realize that's a crisis. But the brain forest, when all these ideas were growing up and friendships were being made and ideas were connecting and experiments were being done and frustrations and fears were being dealt with, that's like this now. And kids needed to breathe. Kids needed to grow. Kids needed to feel like there's something other than a precious Ming vase being taken from place to place and watched over so nothing bad happens to it. When nothing bad happens to it, the downside is nothing else happens to it. Nothing happens to kids. Actually, things happen to kids. Kids don't get to make things happen.
Are we giving our kids anxiety?
This one teacher I'm in touch with was telling me that an 8th grader of hers said that he felt like a total loser. And she asked why. And it was really before he'd started doing things on his own, sort of pushed by that teacher. And I think that if you don't know that you can handle anything, if you've been told all the time that it's too much for you, here, let me do it for you, I'll fight this battle for you, you don't feel like you're competent at all, and you feel like you are fragile. And I think that by treating our kids as fragile, thinking of them all in terms of how this might, how something might hurt them emotionally or physically or psychologically, we intervene because it's very natural. We don't want our kids to get hurt, but we're being told from all sides that everything will hurt our kids and will hurt them forever. Parents Magazine, Bible of the parenting world, had a section on the Playdate Playbook. And it was all these questions about playdates, which I already feel bad for parents because here's a magazine saying that playdates are so hard, you need an expert for 4 pages to tell you how to deal with it, which is so untrue. So parents are being as insulted as children. But here's what one of the questions was. It was, Dear Parents Magazine, my kid is old enough to stay home by herself for a short period of time sometimes, but now she has a play date over. Can I leave them to play while I run to the dry cleaners? And Parents Magazine said, absolutely not. You want to be there, and they went, first of all, in case there's an accident, and they imagined, like, what if they go to the microwave and they burn themselves? This happened once, they find a story. But then the other thing was, what if there's a squabble? You want to be able to step in before anyone's feelings get too hurt. So what Parents Magazine has told parents, they should call it Moms Magazine, what they've told moms is that even if your child is with her friend and they have an argument, that's too much for your kid to handle. It shouldn't happen, and a good mom will make sure it never does and will intervene. And so what you've told the mom is that an argument between her kid and the kid's friend is damaging, so damaging that you should be there. And then you've given the kid this mother who's interfering to say, wait, I don't want you, don't resolve this, I'll resolve it for you. And so the kid never even gets the experience of being mad at her friend and then resolving it because they want to go back to playing. And so you've taken out this building block of resilience, which is dealing with things. If there's always an adult there, jumping in to make sure that everything's fair, the teams are good, everybody gets the trophy, nobody feels excluded, you're always going to feel bad if your kid is in pain. But you also have to believe that they can work it out. Not something terrible, but they can work most things out. And when they do that, their brain gets wired. I mean, your brain comes into the world expecting wonderful experiences and happy things, and it expects frustration, fear, risk, betrayal. And all of those things become this safety net that allows you to bounce on it like a trampoline and go to the next step. And if it never gets wired, if there's only the birthday parties and the ice cream cones and the trophies, it's leaving it undeveloped. There's giant holes where your kid is going to fall in. And I think that's what depression and anxiety are. I can't handle it. Oh my God, where's somebody to help me? I feel uncomfortable. I must be unsafe. That's a new feeling because the kids have not, we've deprived them of their ability to develop wherewithal. If the feedback loop is that everybody is out to get you and anything that hurts is a bug in the system, somebody should be immediately alerted to take the pain away. It's the Princess and the Pea. We're becoming the country of the Princess and the Pea. The Princess and the Pea was, there's a pea under a mattress, and she can feel it, and then there's another mattress and another mattress, and the point is that she's so sensitive that under a ton of mattresses, she can feel that pea and feel uncomfortable. Now, that's supposed to prove that she's evolved, but to me, that's like a crazy person who can't deal with even a pea underneath 15 mattresses. Well, if we're telling our kids, here, let me get rid of the pea, I'm gonna move the mattresses away and get down to the pea and move it away and get it out so that you can have a good night's rest, you can never rest, because nothing is going to be safe enough and comfortable enough for you to feel okay. And it's like, hey, where's my mattress person?
What will happen to society if too many parents raise fragile kids?
Here's what I feel is disturbing to me. If you have kids raised through no fault of their own, to think that feeling uncomfortable is so wrong. Why isn't somebody making me feel comfortable again? That they actually feel unsafe. Well, then you have a really skewed vision of how your life should be, that people should be rewarding you, people should be making you feel good all the time. You shouldn't have to deal with anything that feels risky or unpleasant. And then you get people being very unable to deal with the Sturm und Drang of everyday life, of interactions, of a job that's a little boring, a boss that's a little unfair. You know, we keep saying that we want to have resilient kids and entrepreneurial, brave, risk takers, but we haven't given them any opportunity to take a single risk. Somebody just wrote to me that their local park, I can't remember where she was, where there was the tree that she climbed, even as a kid, when she was a kid, they had chopped off all the branches lower than 8 feet, lest any child grab one and start climbing. And that, of course, is for the safety of our kids. So what you've done is you said, we're going to make kids safer by making them unable to climb, by making them unable to deal with the fear and the exhilaration of getting higher and higher in a tree. So why would you call that making the country better when you're making the country flaccid and afraid?
Why do some parents end up overprotective of their kids?
People think that it's, these horrible helicopter parents are raising, snowflakes or cream puffs or whatever delicious thing that they're raising. But I don't see it as a parental choice. I see that they're sending their kids to school where the kids are not allowed to walk home from school, where they're going to a daycare center where the daycare center has to take down the tree swing because the inspector said this is against the regulations, there shouldn't be a swing. Actually, the swing that I'm talking about, that a lady wrote to me about, was because a child could strangle. I mean, really, there's these far-fetched, litigious ideas rattling around in the heads of administrators and planners, and you want to take them to, the park that I loved as a kid had a slide that was as tall as Kilimanjaro, or at least I thought so. And now the slides are as tall as a matchbox because the schoolyard or the parks department is only allowed to use regulation-sized slides, and they have to be thick and they have to be short. And there's, it's a society that's built around the idea that any risk is too grave for a child to take, lest something bad happen to them or a lawsuit occur or I be blamed. And so to say that, it's all these neurotic parents who just aren't letting their kids have any freedom because they're so crazy is not fair. You don't have a whole society doing this exact same thing if it isn't the social norm, if there isn't incredible pressure on them. I got a call from a superintendent in rural Kansas who said, we want to start giving these kids more independence because he's been there forever and he can see a bunch of the kids' houses from the school, and the parents have started driving the kids in rural Kansas the block or two to the school. So it's not like all the parents became jerks. It's that there's something that has sucked out our brains and replaced it with fear. And the fear is that something terrible is going to happen to my kid, even if it's 1 in a million. Somebody once wrote to my site and said, I don't care if the risk is 1 in a billion, it's not a risk I'm willing to take. I'm like, that's actually not called risk anymore if it's 1 in a billion. That's called non-existent risk. But the fact that one bad thing could happen and I could be blamed, or the school could be blamed, or the parks department, or anybody, just makes us frozen in position. Well, if something bad could happen, let's make nothing happen. And that'll be our answer. And that's a terrible answer, but that's where we're at. A free society has to be one where people take risks. There's this great expression I heard, which is that without risk, there can be no trust. But if we're not letting our kids do the risk, like I trust you to cross the street. There's a little risk, but I trust you. And then you cross the street, and then you grow brave, and I grow brave. If I think the only way that you can cross the street is with me with you, or with a Sherman tank on either side, and we're going to cross now, what you're saying is what children need, what America is demanding, is constant supervision. If it's not from a parent, it's from the school. If it's not from the school, it's from an administrator. If it's not from an administrator, it's from some person with a checklist, making sure that there's no swing at the school and there's no branch lower than 8 feet high. And so what you're asking is for somebody else to always be directing me and keeping me safe as a kid and as an adult. And that's an authoritarian government. That's an authoritarian world. That's frozen in place with fear, saying, can I do this? Is this safe enough? My friend who I work with, her cousin, I don't know, it's a long story. Anyways, there was a 13-year-old girl recently who had a bagel and a knife and said to her mom, 14-year-old, said, Mom, can I cut this? And her mom said, I'd rather you not. And so what is that girl learning? She's learning that she can't cut a bagel, that her mother should be doing something for her. And that seems like a stupid little anecdote, but multiply it towards a country where everyone's saying, could you do this for me? It's a little risky. It's a little scary. I need some help. Please supervise me. I think that independence and freedom is when you feel capable of doing some things yourself independently. And if you think that you're only safe when somebody is supervising you and possibly grading and rewarding you, helping you, making sure that nothing bad ever happens, nothing happens.
Why are these issues so important for a free society?
If you're worried about freedom and new ideas, new frontiers, you have to give kids some of that as they're growing up, because otherwise everything seems too scary, and that there should be somebody else watching over, making sure it's perfectly safe. A perfectly safe society is also a perfectly frozen society. And that's not America. America is cool because think of who it's populated by. All these people, most of these people except the Native Americans, took risks to come here. They left their country, they left their language, they left their families and came to the new world. And we've been really successful because we're a country filled with these brave risk takers, and now we're saying no more risk. Well, that means no more America.
If you like this clip, it is part of a much longer conversation that is only available at dadsavsamerica.com. So head on over there and subscribe. It's our Substack where you can get that and so much more. It's a great way to also keep track of everything we're doing here at Dad Saves America.